Son Izuku, Destroyer by Jacoby the DC Lover. Chapter 2. Destroyer Duties and Entrance Exam. Izuku POV. It's been 5 months since I left Earth. Over that time I have mastered ki control, I can fly at supersonic speeds, I can destroy a planet with the tap of my finger, and I have mastered all of my transformations. My dad thinks I can finish my training to be a destroyer in a month, and I am glad. I have met some of his friends like Jiren the Grey, the strongest mortal in all 12 universes, and Broly the legendary super also taught me things I needed to know, like Xeno, his past enemies, and our job as a destroyer. Right now I am currently sparring with my best friend Monoma. We bonded over how unfair the world is, and that if we wanted to we could destroy it. No one's POV. Izuku dodged a right hook by Monoma and charged a ki blast, which Monoma followed. They released it at the same time, and when it contacted it sent tremors throughout the planet. Monoma got distracted, which Izuku took advantage of. He launched himself at Monoma, struck him in the gut, flew over him and threw a ki blast at him. It connected with Monoma, blasting him into a tree. Izuku won. That makes 300 to 300, said Monoma, standing up. Yes. You've definitely gotten stronger, said Beerus, walking in. Yes my son, your growth is outstanding, said Vegito, walking in. Father, Lord Vegito, said Izuku and Monoma respectively. Izuku, I have a way that we can finish your training faster, said Vegito. What is it father? Asked Izuku. The hyperbolic time chamber on Earth, said Vegito. We're going back to Earth, said Izuku. Yes. You and Monoma will go there for a year, which is only a day on the outside world to continue training, said Vegito. Izuku and Monoma nodded, before grabbing onto Whis. Time skip to when they get there. Izuku, Whis, Monoma, and Vegito arrived in front of the lookout. Don't forget to be nice Izuku, the person you will meet is a Kai getting training and will most likely be the person you get linked to, said Vegito. A little while later a man or bear or mouse walked out. It was Uncle Nezu, shouted Izuku. Izuku, there you are. I've been waiting for you, said Nezu. Flashback 3 months. Nezu was sitting in his office in his true form, looks like Canon Supreme Kai, when Vegito appeared. Lord Vegito, I trust everything has gone well for you, said Nezu. Yes Nezu, I am here to inform you about my son, Izuku, said Vegito. What a small world, he was my nephew, said Nezu. Well, he is my successor, so it's very likely that you two will be linked in the near future, said Vegito. Flashback end. Sorry the Guardian isn't here, but I am here to help you, said Nezu. Izuku and Monoma walked into the time chamber and the clock started. Well, I'm going to get some work done, see you later Nezu, said Vegito. Izuku POV 11 months later. It's been 11 months since me and Monoma went into the chamber. I have mastered my destroyer ki thanks to Monoma and I got a destroyer form. I call it a super destroyer. Me and Monoma have used the rest of the month to sharpen our minds. Hey Izuku, when you become a destroyer, will we still be friends? Asked Monoma. Of course, I still need a sparring partner, said Izuku. Izuku and Monoma finished up the month by going over battle strategies, and people on the Galactic Patrol Most Wanted list. They thought of how to beat them without unnecessary casualties. When it was time to leave, they walked out and were met by Nezu. Hello Izuku, good to see you again, said Nezu. Good to see you too, where's Dad? Said Izuku. He should be here any minute now, said Nezu. As if on cue, Whis and Vegito arrived in front of them. Hello Monoma and Izuku, said Vegito. The two exchanged greetings and headed back to Vegito's planet. When they got there, they were met with the Grand Minister and Nezu. Uncle Nezu and the Grand Minister, what are you doing here? Asked Izuku. Son, it is time for you to take my place. They are here so that you can be given the title of the Destroyer of Universe 7, said Vegito. So this is your son Vegito, he has big shoes to fill as you are the best destroyer of all time, said the Grand Minister. A ceremony was held with Izuku and Nezu getting linked, and the Grand Minister telling Izuku about the rules of being a destroyer. When it was done, the Grand Minister left and the 5 on Izuku's new world celebrated. 1 week later Izuku POV. It's been a week since I became a destroyer. Since then I have traveled across the universe hunting down people who contributed to low mortal levels and disposed of them. I then came across the planet I was looking for. Some people called it New Vegeta as the people on the planet were conquerors and murderers. My lord, are you gonna do what I am thinking? Asked Whis, my new attendant. Yes Whis, I am going to destroy it. I told him. I was nervous as this was the first time I was going to destroy a planet. But I had to. I charged a Hakai blast. It kept getting bigger and bigger until it looked like one of my dad's spirit bombs. I threw it at the planet and waited there. When my blast connected, the planet blew apart without a trace. Even though they were terrible people, I still felt bad. Whis must have been reading my mind because he said, my lord, I know it's hard but they were bad people, like your old family. I thought about it, and he was right. They would go and kill people and destroy what they created because they could. Speaking of my family, I wonder what they're doing. Izumi POV. It's been 5 months since Deku left, and I still don't forgive him. Me and my friends can't use our quirks because of him. Mom and Dad are disappointed in me. Mom thinks that they're terrible because they failed to raise 2 children right. She stopped doing so much hero work, which caused her rank to go to 8. Dad does more as he saves people in his muscle form, and does practical things in his weak form. Me and my friends have decided that if we see Deku again, we're going to beat him 10x harder. If we see him, after all, now we have to take the exam like regular people. Back with Izuku, I flew away with Whis and went back to my planet. It still sounds weird when I say it. I have a planet, powers, a real father, and a best friend. I arrive and see my father waiting for me. Hello father, how are you? I asked him. I'm fine son, how did he do Whis? He asked. He did excellent, he destroyed New Vegeta, said Whis. I walked into my house where Whis started cooking. Halfway through his staff came on. I answered it, and was met with the Omni King himself, Zeno. I remember my father told me that he likes being treated normal, so I said, what brings you to call Zeno? He told me he wanted to see my dad, so I ran out and got him. When he came in, I left to see Monoma. He would love to meet him. 3 months later, Izuku was fighting a planet full of high-class warriors, demolishing a planet of high-class warriors when Whis came. Izuku dodged a ki blast and threw a little Hakai blast at the rest of the warriors, killing them all instantly. What is it Whis? Asked Izuku. The Supreme Kai requests your presence, said Whis. Izuku grabbed onto Whis, but before Whis took off Izuku stomped on the ground. Whis left, and 3 seconds later the planet blew up. At the land of Kais. Izuku landed to see different Kais and saw Supreme Kai. You requested me Uncle Nezu, said Izuku. Yes. I need to know if you will be a joint homeroom teacher with Aizawa, said Nezu. Why not? It will be a good learning experience, and I will still be able to carry out my duties. Can Monoma join with the other class? Said Izuku. That would be a good idea, both classes having a being of great power, said Nezu. I'll tell him the good news, and then we can see where we will be teaching, said Izuku. Nezu teleported Izuku and Whis to Izuku's world where they found Monoma. Hey Monoma, I got you a teaching job at UA, said Izuku. Thank you. God, I was so bored, hopefully this will cure it, said Monoma. The 4 then got transported in front of the UA building. Nezu had on his disguise, Izuku had on his training attire, a green GI, Monoma was also wearing a red GI, and Whis was in his normal attire. The 4 walked around the school as Izuku showed his past life by fanboying over all the teachers they passed. There's Snipe, he's so awesome, squealed Izuku. My lord, you know you can beat all of them with no effort, so why are you so excited over them? Asked Whis. Because Whis, I gushed over them during my childhood, the people who save with a heroic heart, said Izuku. Here we are Izuku, your classroom. Meet your students for the rest of the year, said Nezu. In the classroom a few minutes earlier. Everybody, you will have another teacher today. You guys are going to be 3rd years, so don't act up, said Aizawa. I wonder who it will be, said Mirio. A knock was heard, which Aizawa told him to come in. Izuku walked in and everybody was shocked. Mr. Aizawa, He's just a kid. We're probably better than him, said a random student. Wanna bet? Said Izuku. Meet me in Gym Gamma in 15 minutes, or you're all expelled, said Izuku. 15 minutes later, Class 2A were all gathered in Gym Gamma with Izuku and Aizawa as Whis went to the cafeteria. Now, come at me. If you knock me down, no homework for the rest of the school year, said Izuku with his hands crossed.
The first person to walk up was the guy that challenged Izuku. He had a pyrokinesis quirk and was an intern to Endeavor. He charged at Izuku and used the spare light he had to create a flame and launched it at Izuku. Izuku stopped the fireball with a finger, and poked it, putting it out. He then launched a kid blasted the guy, blasting him to the wall and knocking him out.
Is that it? I have to say, I'm disappointed, future heroes. I guess I'll just have to show you you're not all that, said Izuku. The next events that took place could only be described as a manslaughter. Izuku beat everybody in the room with one punch, without using more than 3% of his power. The only people left were the big three. While Izuku was beating the everything out of Class 2A, Mirio was panicking inside. It looks like he has multiple quirks. Super strength, super speed, flight, energy blast, and he doesn't seem to be even warmed up. I must tell sir about this, thought Mirio as another one of his classmates flew across from him. And last but not least, the big three, UA's pride and joy. Show me what you got, said Izuku. Neja then blasted her strongest attack, which Izuku used a Hakai blast the size of a pea to disperse. Izuku then blitzed her and struck her in the neck, knocking her out. Izuku then charged at Tamaki, which Tamaki got cold feet and allowed himself to be punched to the ground. Now for Mirio, groomed to be the inheritor of One for All, but it was given to All Might's daughter Azumi Yagi, said Izuku. Mirio got scared and tried to punch Izuku, which Izuku dodged and decked Mirio in the gut, making him spit out blood. What are you? Uttered Mirio, before losing consciousness. Your worst nightmare, said Izuku, before dropping Mirio. Impressive nephew, you will have to teach me that sometime, said Aizawa. Remind me too, Uncle Aizawa, said Izuku. The rest of the day was spent with Izuku learning about his new class and their quirks after they got healed by Recovery Girl, and Mirio trying to ask what Izuku's quirk was with Izuku saying, it's confidential. At the end of the day, Izuku met up with Monoma and Whis. How was it, my lord? Asked Whis. It was fine, how about you? Said Izuku. Lunch Rush is my favorite hero, he makes the best food, said Whis. I saw all those people on stretchers, was that your class? Asked Monoma. Yes. They needed a reality check that they aren't the best, said Izuku. My class was amazing, and next year we are going to teach first years, said Monoma. You know who will be there, right? Said Izuku. Your past, I even hear they're hiring your parents, said Monoma. The three walked off, not knowing that an old man was listening to the conversation. So you're back, I will have your back this time, Izuku, said Gran Torino. With Mirio, Mirio arrived at Nightai's agency where he saw Nighteye and All Might talking. Good, you're both here, we might have an agent of All for One in UA, said Mirio. Why do you think that? Asked All Might. He had multiple quirks, and they were all way too strong, said Mirio. We will watch out for him and alert Nezu, said All Might. Time skip to UA entrance exam. Izuku and Monoma were having a good last couple of months. It started off bad as Vegito died, but Izuku used his name as his alias as a tribute to him. Beerus also died, and Monoma honored him by using his former destroyer outfit as his hero costume. Speaking of heroes, they both got their teaching and pro-hero licenses, and Izuku was able to balance his work with his destroyer duties. Everybody in UA came to know the pair as the powerhouses of UA. On the other hand, All Might was keeping a close eye on Izuku, Monoma, and Whis as he believed that they were spies sent by All for One. Azumi was also allowed to take her collar off to train with One for All, and has 30% of OFA unlocked, and can use Black Whip and float. All Might keeps telling Nezu about it, which Nezu denies, giggling on the inside. Izuku kept his promise and taught Aizawa Ki and took him to the hyperbolic time chamber. Aizawa is now efficient at using it. Today is the UA entrance exam and Izuku and Monoma are seen talking to Nezu. So, You will do the rules for the practical exam, Izuku, and Monoma you will be assigned with distributing rescue points, said Nezu. The two nodded, before walking out. They were met with Izawa and Vlad King. Hey guys, ready to see some future heroes? Said Monoma. They all nodded, before walking off. Azumi POV. This is what I've been waiting for. The UA entrance exams. I will show everybody that Dad made the right choice picking me and not that useless Deku. When I pass, I also have to keep an eye out for AFO spies. No one's POV. The written exam passed by quickly as everybody was waiting for the teacher to come in. Izuku walked onto the podium and started. Hello applicants, you are here because you think you are the best, said Izuku. The 5 bullies smirked thinking, we are the best. In reality, you're not. Most of you will fail, and the ones that do pass will most likely be stuck-up brats that have a flashy quirk and don't deserve to be here. Do try your best to prove me wrong. Now, onto the rules, said Izuku. The crowd was astonished at the guy's disrespectfulness, while the 5 were seething with anger thinking, I'll show him. The teachers were laughing and thank God it was soundproof, except All Might and Weather Wizard, thinking, who does this guy think he is, calling our daughter out. You all will be in a different mock city, your goal is to get as many points as possible. There are 4 robots, the 0, 1, 2, and 3 pointer, said Izuku. A guy with blue hair shot his hand up and when Izuku called on him and said, why is there a 0 pointer, and you, pointing at the 5. You have been talking this entire time, if you think this is a joke I suggest you leave. Shut up 4 eyes, yelled Bakugo. Quiet down. To answer your question, the 0 pointer is an obstacle to avoid, said Izuku. Every applicant left, and the 5 were in different testing grounds, with Izuku going to the teacher's lounge. Still the same, huh Bakugo? I'll beat the eagerness out of you. 5 minutes later, Izuku walked into the teacher's lounge to see his co-workers and All Might and Weather Wizard. Everybody commented on his speech while the previous mentions stared at him, which Izuku returned with a glare. The test started and unsurprisingly, the 5 were doing the best. There was also a very muscular guy using Ki Blast or just ripping the things apart. Is that your student Vegito? Asked Snipe. Yup. That's Raditz, he was named after my dad's brother, said Izuku. Nezu, how is our daughter doing? Asked All Might. She is in 2nd place, behind Raditz, said Nezu. The 2 parents had a frown on his face, but kept his composure. The real test begins now, said Nezu as he clicked a button. Testing site Raditz POV. I just finished off my 100th robot. I never get to go at my full power except on Izuku and Monoma. I felt a rumble on the ground and saw it was a gigantic robot. This is my time for my final move. I ran to the robot and cuffed my hands together. I charged a Kamehameha wave and threw it at the robot. Teacher's lounge, no one's POV. A blast of straight energy fired to the robot and disintegrated it without a trace. Everybody except 4 were shocked. He didn't do it long enough and his stance was off balance. We will work on that, said Izawa. Ha, that was awesome, said Izuku. How did he do that? His quirk is like Vegito's, said Ectoplasm. They were cut off by a big boom in testing spot B. They looked towards it and saw a lightning bolt struck the 0 pointer. Okay, now I'm just confused. It says here she has a weather quirk, but up until now she has just been punching them and using whips to destroy robots. Did she lie on the test? Said Monoma. All Might began sweating bullets and tried to think of an answer. Before they could though, the test was over, as Izuku and Monoma left to get Raditz and leave. Nezu, I want the top 4 in my class, said Izuku. Done deal, replied Nezu. At least we get the others, said Vlad King. 4 hours later, Izuku and Raditz were in front of a planet. The planet was a dealer planet where they would do bad things. First lesson in being a destroyer, you have to be the best at destroying, said Izuku, as he charged a Hakai blast. He threw it at the planet, and not a second later it blew up. Come on Raditz, we have work to do. We have to get you better with your legendary Super Saiyan form, said Izuku. Part 2 ended. Thanks for ended.